Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa podcast, our opposition preview for Aston Villa against Brighton. Delighted to be joined by Luke Links, Brighton fan channel. We've had him on last time. How are you, mate?
Yeah, feeling really good, Luke. I really appreciate you getting me on the old Up the Villa podcast, eh? Feels a pleasure, absolute pleasure once again.
Awesome. So we're kind of back in similar territory, really, of both clubs doing pretty well in the top six, gate crashing that old top six. So going to be a really difficult game, I think, for both teams. I think Villa are in great form at home. We're going for 10 wins in a row at Villa Park. Brighton have won 2 away games in a row. I think you're sitting third in the league with 3 points behind you. So, talk to me. How's the start of the season been?
Start of the season's been really good, really, really good. And to be honest with you, we always say, "Oh, are we going to do well this year? Are we going to start as well as we hope?" Because of the loss of Moises Caicedo and Alexis McAllister. Those are the 2 big boys that we lost in the summer. And we thought, were we going to do as well this time? Is our luck run out, let's just say? And it hasn't. It's been a pleasant surprise. Obviously, we brought in Ansu Fati late, which was a lovely surprise to help us through for the up and coming season and Europa League. And yeah, it's been a lovely, lovely start, and I couldn't be happier as a Brighton fan.
Yeah, it has been a great start for you. A little bit like us in Europe, not so much a great start, but I think for both squads, we've got to just learn to live with what Europe's all going to be about, really. And we're kind of similar in a way of how our journey with our new managers are going. Both clubs in Europe for Villa, it's been a really long time, and for you guys, have you? I don't think you've been in. Have you been in Europe before?
Never been in Europe before, ever.
No. So
No.
I guess for the club, it's massive as well. So we know the Zerbi ball is very, very good. It's fantastic. Everybody's sort of loving De Zerbi, etc. Even fans that don't even support Brighton. So, has De Zerbi changed anything tactically? I mean, one observation I've had so far on you guys is the sort of changing of players. You change players. I think it was at United, and I think you made a number of changes, and it doesn't really matter. And I think that's testament to how good you are in the fact that it doesn't matter who plays, you coached really well. So has there been any changes in the way you play?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a change. I think as well, different players, they all have different ways of playing. We're all sort of playing the De Zerbi football, but it is all done in different ways slightly because players play differently. Example, James Milner normally playing for us in the right back role. Lamptey's been given a go in the last game and against Bournemouth, and I think he's played really, really, really well. But I think he's been different as well. Pace wise and just different variety of playing and going forward. So I think there is difference definitely. Especially having more games now, especially in these midweek games with Europa League. I definitely have seen a bit of a change in the De Zerbi football just because of the different styles of play with different players, realistically.
Yeah. You mentioned Ansu Fati coming from Barcelona, a remarkable signing, to be fair. So how was your summer recruitment? Who did you sign, and are any of them sort of in the starting lineup at the minute?
So, we've got a couple of, quite a few new faces, to be fair. Carlos Baliba being one that is probably one of the newest, if the newest, that had his first game when he came on against Bournemouth. I thought he played absolutely unbelievably well and almost made the third goal of Matoma. So yeah, I thought he was absolutely incredible. He's one to look out for, and he could have a start up on Saturday against Villa only because we've been struggling injury wise in the midfield. Pascal Gross has a big injury, so we could be seeing the lots of him. We've had Julio Igor, who's come into us, who is a defender. He played in the Conference League final against West Ham. He has some experience going forward into Europa League and the whole of the drama that goes on in Europe. And yeah, of course, Ansu Fati's a big one as well. So we've had quite a few players come in, and they've settled really well, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I remember talking to you last time, and one of my favourite players from Brighton is Enciso, and he's picked up an injury. So how serious is his injury?
It's quite a bad one. It's an ACL, so he's going to be out for a couple of months. You know what an ACL is like. It's very long recovery time on it. So yeah, he's going to be out for a good 4 months or so, I reckon.
Yeah, because it was kind of in that period where Buendia did his ACL in his knee, Mings did his. Then I think it was Timber from Arsenal, he did his, and then Enciso was sort of like in and around all of that, and it was just a mad period of all these players doing their ACLs. But it's such a shame that he's injured because he had a fantastic season last year. So, as a Brighton fan, then what's the aim this season?
I think the aim this season is, well, for me personally, because I love the excitement out of Europe. I would love us to get out of the group stages of the Europa League. Now we've had a bit of a dodgy start with AEK Athens, but I think we'll get into the spirit of it. I think we've broken the ice, is what people like to say. We've broken the ice with it, and I think we'll come back, and hopefully we keep our form to when we go away to Marseille, I believe is our next European game, and hopefully we can bring out something there. But generally, when it comes to Premier League, personally, I would like to get top 6 out of how we've been playing at the moment. I would love to get another European place. That would be, again, another dream, to be honest. Hit it twice in a row would be unbelievable. But I think, like you guys, you've been struggling a little bit with the European football. Obviously, it was the same, wasn't it? The same result as well, 3-2.
Yeah, 3-1, 3-2. Yeah, 3-2.
So, yeah, was it 3-2? Yeah, 3-2.
Yeah,
which is quite crazy, isn't it? Because we are very similar, aren't we? Us and Villa are very, very similar. And I honestly, if I was to put a team, and someone said to me, who is a team that are very much like Brighton and sort of end the same place and the same sort of quality, and I would definitely say Villa are very, very similar to Brighton.
Yeah, I think it's because there's that stat going around as well, isn't there? Since 2023, so the start of the year, Villa and Brighton are like right up in the Premier League. I think we've got 56 points now, this calendar year, and I think you're pretty much. I think you're a point below us. So that's why I think we are pretty similar, because we're just neck and neck in that department, really. So, what do you make of the De Zerbi poachers then, who may be circling for De Zerbi? Do you think he would? Because there was talk of Chelsea at that first time round again before Pochettino or something like that. But do you think he's 100% like, if a big club came in for him, like a top bracket club, what would happen?
Well, I believe there was talks. Of course, it's rumours, but it was quite a strong rumour of De Zerbi going to Tottenham, and apparently he declined it. So I know that was quite early on, and it's like, well, when that happened and when that rumour was going about, I think that it was so close to him just coming in as well. I don't think he was just going to change that quickly. But now he's had a bit of, he's had a whole year now of being in Brighton. So, yeah, it is scary when, big clubs, come in for these players and have interest. And I'm sure there are some clubs that are interested in Roberto De Zerbi. Especially at the moment, a lot of people are saying Ten Hag out, in United. So we hope that doesn't happen. And of course, Roberto De Zerbi is that replacement. So there's always a scare in it, of course, with any good player. But, it's like, if we didn't have players that weren't being looked at for bigger clubs, it would mean that we're not really one of those bigger clubs in the Premier League. So I'm glad that, bigger clubs are looking out for us and looking at our players and looking at our manager and our staff, because it means that we're a club, and it means that they would like to be like us, and have our players and have our coaching staff and all that. So,
yes, let's turn our attention then to the weekend's game, 12:30 kickoff, which they always throw up something a little bit strange, don't they, the 12:30s? But De Zerbi v Emery so far, it's Emery 2-0. Your record since we've been promoted to the Premier League is not the best. Villa generally do quite well against Brighton. So
Yeah, they do.
What are your thoughts then on this game? Because you've won 2 away games in a row so far. So going into this, what do you expect? What do you hope for? What Villa players sort of worry you?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, Ollie Watkins. I'm a fan of Ollie Watkins when it comes to Aston Villa and Ollie Watkins. He's the guy I always think, this guy doesn't get enough credit. He's good. He is good, and on his day, he can be absolutely incredible. And that's my personal threat, but. At the same time, it's an interesting game only because we have a lot of injuries. I don't know about you guys. I don't know what your injuries are saying. Do you have a lot of injuries already?
The back line really. We've got Carlos and Moreno. Ramsey's come back. So it's just sort of in that defensive area, really. So midfield, we're pretty sorted. Up top's fine. So, yes, I think we're all right at the minute. I mean, Mings, Buendia are out for pretty much the whole season. So, they're massive blows to our squad.
Yeah, well, there you go then. You're pretty all right. I mean, with us, we've got quite a few players down, and Evan Ferguson a bit iffy at the moment. Lewis Dunk a bit iffy. Gross is out, and Cisso's out. So we've got a few players. So it will be an interesting one. I just hope that we don't start like we did against Bournemouth. I think that might have been because we've just come off a loss in a big game against Athens or AK. So yeah, I think as long as we bring the sort of right players on and give them a good game, I think I'll be happy with that. To be honest with you, if I'm going with predictions now, I would probably say a 1-0 to Brighton. I'm never that confident going against Villa. I wasn't there last time we were at Villa Park when we lost on the last game of season, I believe it wasn't it? I wasn't there, which is probably a good thing because we lost. But yeah, always a bit nervous going up against Villa. It's one of them bogey teams for us, I reckon.
Does he change the way you play at all, sort of away from home? Do you generally sort of play the same style, like looking to always get on the ball? Is that the way you approach away games as well?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think we go ahead and change too much, to be honest with you. We always like to keep the basics. The thing is with Roberto De Zerbi, and it's been a great example against the Bournemouth game, the last game we just played, and that is, we played a complete different game of football in the second half than we did the first, and that's where Roberto De Zerbi, it just goes to show that he isn't afraid to change things if he needs to. He's not one of them, managers. One that comes to mind is Gareth Southgate. He's very picky. He likes plays. It's all the same. So yeah, with De Zerbi, it's nice because he is that manager. It's not afraid to just bring a player off or change anyone or change tactics as we go. So to be honest with you, we could start, in the first 15 minutes and we go 1 goal down, and the whole thing could be completely changed. That's the thing with Brighton. We do change things if it's needed.
Yeah. So how come Matoma was on the bench against Bournemouth then? Because he came off the bench, didn't he?
Yeah, he did come off the bench. I'm not too sure why necessarily. I think yet again it might be De Zerbi just trying to play some other players to give Matoma a rest. That's probably the best answer I could give for that, is just giving Matoma a little bit of a rest. Maybe he underestimated Bournemouth a little bit. Maybe he did, but yeah, when he came on, he was clinical. So yeah, maybe he has to start going against you guys.
Yeah, and finally, then, just talking about your striker options, then, who do you reckon would start up top? 'Cause João Pedro, is he not really hit the ground running, or is that a bit unfair?
Well, a little bit unfair, only because I think, the European game that we had, he scored 2 penalties. I know they're penalties, but not only did he score those 2 penalties, he played a really good game, I thought. So I think that he's a bit one of those players that are just a bit slow coming in, but he will get there. And I think we're seeing 80% of him right now. So I reckon he could be starting against Villa. I don't see why not, because Evan Ferguson, as I say, is a bit bit rocky at the moment. Not quite sure if he's totally fit. So it'll either be him or Welbeck, I reckon. But I reckon João Pedro will be the guy up front, to be honest, going against Villa. I can see it happening.
Yeah, it's gonna be such an interesting game
It
because
will.
I think we tend to sometimes change the way we play with Emery, and he's tactical in that way that he's quite astute. So depending on the opposition, sometimes we tweak things and we change the way we sort of set up. So it's going to be interesting to see how we go about it at home, because at home we've been quite expansive with the ball, and I'm not sure whether we'll see that same vibe if we try and press Brighton so much. So I think it's going to be a right tactical battle, and I think both of them on that touchline are just going to be like at it and on it and want to get them 3 points. So cheers for coming on, mate, and I imagine I'll speak to you soon.
Definitely. No.